All right, so now we're on to the Big Ten. We're going to go the same as we have in the past conferences. Rod, who do you have coming out of the East and the West of the Big Ten?
Okay, so what I'm going to have to do here is kind of give an expanded picture. So out of the West, I have Wisconsin at 11-1. I'm buying the fickle hype. I think that there's a possibility that Tanner Mordecai could be a top 2 quarterback in the Big Ten this year. I believe in him. And then out of the East, I have Ohio State, with their only loss being to Notre Dame in week 2. And then I have Ohio State beating Wisconsin to win the Big Ten.
Wow, that is some sunshine pumping in Wisconsin. I will say that. So Big Ten, the West is the like ugly stepsister of the conference. It's kind of, you got Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, those schools. I've got Iowa at 10-2. Someone's got to win the conference. It's going to be between them and Wisconsin, or win that division, sorry. I've got Wisconsin at 9-3. I think Iowa's defense is going to be elite again, and hopefully, if their offense improves by 20%, they're going to win 10 games, no problem. But out of the East, this is where it gets tricky because it gets, it's like that picture in Always Sunny with the board, Charlie's board, and all the pictures connected with the three-way between Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan at the top. I've got Ohio State winning the East at 10-2 with their losses to Michigan and Notre Dame. I've got Penn State second place in the East, 11-1, losing to Ohio State. So Ohio State has the tiebreaker and wins the East. And then Michigan at 10-2. I can't remember where their losses are, but they're somewhere in there.
Yeah. So I have, like I said, I have Ohio State winning the East as well, but I have Penn State with their only losses to Ohio State, like you, and then I have Ohio State and Penn State beating Michigan, and Michigan going 10-2.
So, Nick, who did you have winning the East again?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. So they were 11-1.
They were 10-2 with losses to Notre Dame and Michigan.
Michigan.
But they beat Penn State and get the tiebreaker over Penn State.
So, yeah. Okay, so mine's pretty similar. So out of the West, I have Iowa going 10-2, 7-2 in conference. The best defense in the country. Like I said, if their offense just improves even like by a touchdown and maybe an extra field goal, which they will make. Special teams, you over there. But I'm a little bit Iowa biased. I've always enjoyed watching how they play because their brand of football, except a little bit of the offensive woes, is my favorite. Just those kind of defensive games is how I enjoy my football. So, but I got Minnesota finishing second at 8-4, Wisconsin at 3 at 9-3, with Minnesota beating Wisconsin the final game of the year. But I mean, those three teams, I wouldn't say I could necessarily see Minnesota beating Iowa, but I could also see Wisconsin winning the division as well. But I just got to go with Iowa. I can't back off my gut for that. And then out of the East, I have Penn State winning the East at 11-1 with their only loss to Ohio State. And I have Ohio State going 10-2 and Michigan going 11-1 and beating Ohio State the last week of the season, which will put Penn State into the conference title. And I have Penn State beating Iowa, and James Franklin will be on a bus heading to the college football playoff.
Wow. I like it. The East is just it's convoluted with those three teams at the top, but we've all decided that it will not be Michigan's year to make it back to the playoff again.
Oh,
They could, the way mine plays out though, if we want to pick playoff picks, I kind of have mine played out. They could technically, where mine is, be sitting on that like one loss, not going to the conference championship, Bama kind of vibe, just sitting lingering around that 5 or 6, hoping someone falls.
That's fair. I think that they're not a playoff team this year. I'm not high on them. I mean, 10-2 is still a great year for most programs in the country, even Michigan.
Yeah.
But I mean, Penn State this is like the most hype they've had in a long time. They're finally out of the Sean Clifford era. Drew Aller, big time player who I know all of us are very excited to watch. So, I mean, it was tough for me to make the decision for Ohio State over Penn State. I could have very easily had to go the other way. So, a very
Yeah.
strong Big Ten East.
Same here. The only reason I pick Ohio State to beat Penn State and give them that one loss is because the game is in Columbus. That's the only reason. I really think Penn State, if that game was in State College, I think Penn State would be undefeated this year. I really believe in Drew Aller. And I honestly, I think if there's a player in the Big Ten likely to be a Heisman finalist out of quarterbacks, it's Drew Aller.
I completely agree. There's no point in even thinking of other quarterbacks or players for Heisman finalists. In my opinion, I think it's going to be Drew Aller.
Cade McNamara, baby. Not really. But one team I want to ask, I want your opinion on this team because I'm very high on this team. Where do you have Maryland finishing?
9-3 for me.
I have the same with losses to the obvious three teams.
Yeah. Yep. I think Talia Tagovailoa is going to have a huge year.
They're good enough to be able to beat everyone below them, and then they just don't have the talent to match with Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. But I mean, I think is it Michigan they get at home this year? Yeah, they get Michigan at home.
Yeah.
That could be one of those scare games. They're one of those teams.
Michigan, I mean, in the past not the last 2 years, but in the past they've tended to drop games like that Maryland game. So I can see it.
I've
the 6-6.
I've got Maryland at 4-7.
Whoa!
How? Please go through their schedule.
Well, they can't be 4-7. They've got to play 12 games.
So
this site I fucked it up, I think, but so I've got them at 5-7, I guess. I don't know. It's just the way the teams shake out. It's just happens, man.
Who do you have them beating at least? Who are their wins?
Oh God, I've got to go back through this. It's all screwed up now. Oh no, here we go. I've got them.
Please tell me you don't have them losing to Virginia.
No, they're beating Virginia. They start off 3-0.
You have them losing to Michigan State.
That's
crazy.
To
Michigan State. They lose to Indiana. They lose to Ohio State. They lose to Duffy McHat's boys of Illinois. They beat Northwestern. Lose to Penn State. Lose to Nebraska. And they take the trip to New Jersey and get waxed by Rutgers.
I got
cooking.
Indiana going 2-10, 0-9. Indiana and Virginia are the worst two Power 5 football teams.
Vanderbilt
would toss Indiana.
Yeah, my Maryland went off the rails.
We're gonna have to change your mind on the Terps. Bring back the Terrapin M logo, please.
I think I'm just so biased on like Rutgers because of the Sopranos, and Michigan State. I just feel like is just always going to be okay. So someone in the East had to drop.
Michigan State, but I mean, obviously we have their quarterback, but I think it's gonna be another rough year for Spartan fans. I got them going 5-7.
Yeah,
missing out on a bowl.
Yep, I got him at 6-6. Mel Tucker, once again, the biggest fraud in college football.
I like Mel Tucker, but the whole contract thing, the way it played out, he capitalized perfectly with the LSU job opening.
Yeah, he did well for himself. His agent is a god.
Yeah.
So, Heisman.
Besides Drew Aller.
Drew Aller, who is your could-be Heisman pick?
Wisconsin running back, Braylon Allen.
Oh, that's a good pick.
I'm going to follow suit with running back, and I got to go with Blake Corum.
Oh, yeah. Now, here's another sleeper, Donovan Edwards.
And Nick Singleton.
Yeah.
TreVeyon Henderson.
Yeah. Dude, the running backs on those three squads are absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Obviously we're omitting. I think the guy that out of every single player in the Big Ten, quarterbacks included, the guy I honestly think he's a Heisman lock. You can pencil him in as one of the guys that's going to be there. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I think by default he's there. I mean, he's going to have 1,800 yards and probably 20 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, I could be back there throwing jump balls to him, and he would still get over 1,000 yards receiving,
Yeah.
dude. Like,
Well, that's the thing. It's like with Ohio State's quarterback situation, they're saying the coaching staff is split 50-50 for McCord versus Devin Brown. And I'm like, it doesn't really matter.
no, it really
Just
doesn't.
throw it up.